That's sad.
Are there cheaper McLarens? Like,
Yes.
Okay.
So McLaren, they made the most legendary supercar kind of our era, the F1, which from 94 to 97, but they only made 106 of those. And then kind of in a new iteration of the business, they came back in 2012 and made the MP412C, which has gone on to develop. Now they have the 750S. And so very different product. They also did the partnership with Mercedes to do the SLR in the mid 2000s. So I think I was on here and talked about having the one that Paris Hilton, Britney Spears, and Lindsay Lohan were driving around and flashed the world in. So there's kind of three phases of McLaren's business life, but the F1 is kind of our generation's 250 GTO. So yeah, one just sold for a record $25 million a few weeks ago. It's been a wild time in the big money car industry.
Huh. There's a streamer I watch who has a McLaren, and I don't know what that means. Could that mean 100 grand, 400 grand, $1 million, 4 million? Maybe any of those.
It can mean just about anything. I have probably one of the cheapest ones. It was a flood titled 2017 570 GT, which is kind of their entry level thing. And it's probably worth 75, 85 grand, all the way up to, that's a 720S. That's a 750S. So they've got molded bumpers. They didn't do a huge evolution between the 720 and 750, but that's a 350, 400 car.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's fancy.
It's wonderful to drive, somewhat unreliable. That's a 720. And so you could get those around 200 in the pre-owned market. But wonderful cars to drive when they work, a little finicky electronically. They leak coolant like crazy, but it's all managed.
Fuck. They leak coolant like crazy? That's
really, they
I
did
would
not
be
do a
furious.
great job of sealing that system up. And so a lot of the clamps that they use kind of wear out over time, which is odd. And so there's a lot of preventative maintenance that people advise in terms of managing oil flow and cooling and things of that nature. But the reason that is that they are head and shoulders better from a performance perspective than a lot of the stuff from Ferrari or Lamborghini that would be a bit more reliable, but just doesn't have the same feel. So there's a lot going for them, and people continue to believe it's worthwhile, but it's a bit of a challenge, and so it causes a lot of depreciation in most of their cars. Although there have been some nice shining moments. The special edition cars they've done would be like a P1, a Senna, a Speedtail. They can be anywhere from $2, $3, $4 million.
I like that these cars at least look sick. Like the McLaren looks cool. All the and I'm a car novice, but all the Ferraris I've seen look cool. All the Lamborghinis look sick. They're so neat. The one of those like elite car companies that just can't hang is Porsche. Like Porsche just cannot hang aesthetically with those guys. And it seems like their thing is like, we are so secure in our design, we don't even have to change it ever. And it's like, it looks boring though.
Name a Porsche that might change his mind.
The most legendary of the modern era would be a Carrera GT. So if we look up one of those, it looks like glorified Boxster, but it is a wonderful driving car and a popular choice amongst, driver-focused people. That is a GT3 RS. And so you're right that when you look at the 911 is one of the longest running cars that has never been like totally reinvented. But they have turned into that, which is, wings.
It looks like a Volkswagen Beetle.
Yeah.
Like it looks like if the Beetle was an actual animal, this is like the male of the species.
Is this
the
one?
Traditional one we've seen is
there we go. So that is a car that was really an abandoned racing effort. So it's got an amazing V10 engine. It's a very, very driver-focused car. They only made about 1,300 of them. They did not sell all that well when they were new at about $450,000 between 2004 and 2005. But now they are about $2 million and, very, very highly prized by collectors, push rod suspension, really, really cool stuff.
I can see, look, I'm sure this is a wonderful car, and I can see how
it looks kind of cool,
especially in this angle, it rivals the McLaren, but it still falls short to my eye. I can't verbalize why. It's just not quite there.
It's the bug thing,
German execution as opposed to something Italian or British, and that's because quality has always been at the forefront. So this is a car you could daily drive, you could put a lot of miles on. It's something, especially in a 911, there's really no limitation. You're not compromising anything. And so there's a lot to be said there, but it is not naturally as exciting as you would have with a car that's not as good. And so there's a pride that Porsche owners have in not having to worry that a $250,000 transmission is going to explode or something like that we enjoy about some of our more finicky cars. So it's, to me, I like slightly older supercars from the 90s and 2000s that give us a little bit more uncertainty. I think since I was on here last, I'd mentioned that I had secured the Victoria's Secret Lamborghini Diablo that was sold out of the lingerie catalog in 98. We finally got that thing running and it's going around to shows and everybody loves it. I actually found a set of Facebook Marketplace Victoria's Secret wings from the models that they were supposed to have destroyed, but someone managed to survive. So we're having fun with that. I bought my Bugatti a couple of years ago now, and the issue's always been tires for those.
How color's your Bugatti?
$160,000 on a new set of wheels and tires. As prescribed, I was able to get some cheap Chinese replicas made that accommodate normal tires that don't have to be glued on to go 250 miles an hour. And so the last couple of months have been testing those. And fortunately, we went 200 miles an hour on them, and they seemed just fine.
Where did you get 200?
A car club out of Europe had rented out, the Titusville runway, which is at NASA Kennedy Space Center. And so we got to go out there. Unfortunately, it was raining, so they didn't let us go all 3 miles, but still, it doesn't take too long for that car to get to 200 miles an hour.
That's really cool. Yeah, whenever I see these, I always compare them to this Corvette that I've linked over here. Zach, link this Corvette because it's $65,000.
But Corvettes are made out of melted Tupperware.
Yep, it is plastic, but it is a wonderful car, and for $65,000, you really can't do any better. It's reliable, it's easy, it's comfortable. It's there are people that consider the mid-engine Corvette to not be as true to the lineage as some of the front-engine cars, old, but there is so much to be said. It is also becoming, because of that, it's an incredible residual value. That was pretty much the starting MSRP in 2020. So they really have not depreciated that massively. And it's making them really, really good track cars because people can mile them up, beat them up, and then somebody will still buy it down the road. So you can't ever beat a car like a Porsche or a Corvette from a performance perspective. It's just other things that kind of make them interesting. And, my target has always been find something rare, find something significant, and find something that's at least 10 to 15 years old, because you tend to have kind of the bottom of the depreciation or value curve, and you're primed in most cases for things to start going up if they ever will. And that has worked quite well because I just buy them too recklessly, overly leveraged with financing before the more rational members of my age cohort that loved them when we were kids as well kind of catch up and buy them. And that causes them to go up in value after I buy them, which is fun.
Well, good for you. It seems like so many people in the car YouTube space are making just home run swings financially. Are there many stories of car YouTubers striking out? You know what? I bought this piece of shit for $900,000, but if I fix it, I think it's worth $1 million, and it doesn't go like they hoped. Is that happening at all?
Yes, it absolutely is. And the car YouTube space is one of the more susceptible content creation spaces to the Mr. Beast, bet the farm mentality, especially these car build channels and things like that, where they have success with a $50,000 car, then they buy a $200,000 car, they try to buy a $500,000 car, and then there's only so far up you can go because a lot of these cars just don't get totaled or they truly are not repairable. And so the greatest example of this is a very good friend of mine that I do car trek with, Freddie Tavares Hernandez. And so he bought that flooded P1. He just bought a Porsche 918, the last Porsche that we showed that had caught on fire in Canada. And these are monumental scope rebuilds. They are not something that you can just go order parts or steal parts off another crash car. You're talking about re-engineering cars on a YouTube budget, which is generally not feasible. So he's 3 years into the repairs on his P1, and it still is not in the vicinity of function. But that being said, it still generates great views. He's made 20 videos or so on the car. That's the 918. And it is that damage. That's obviously an AI enhanced thumbnail photo, but the back half of it is melted. And that one Porsche still sells the parts for because they're Porsche. The McLaren, they don't. And so he's got his work cut out for him, but he was correct that those were the magnitude of cars that were required to sort of guarantee the video performance. So, and I'm sure you guys see this to an extent just based on the age of the channel and the longevity of high viewership, is that, you have people who subscribed 5, 8, 10 years ago, and their view habits on YouTube are wildly different now. So they may not have unsubscribed. They just don't tune in nearly as often. And inherently that scores your videos poorly in the way the algorithms work. So most of us that had more than 1 million subscribers prior to 2020 are seeing some level of kind of 10 to 20% a year decline. And that's natural. It makes sense that there's more of an economic opportunity in the space. There's higher quality content coming in that we need to compete with, and the volume of content that we compete with is so much higher. And you can kind of accept that and age gracefully, or you can try to reinvent the wheel and bet the farm and buy whatever it takes. And I think that both are valid paths. It just comes down to exactly what makes the business model and the lifestyle make sense for you. So there are plenty of examples of guys that have gotten out over their skis and gotten too much of either a fleet of cars or bought the wrong cars and had them go down. That being said, for the last 5 years, that's been a very hard thing to do because the car market as a whole has done so well, especially 21 to 24. Over the last couple of years, we're starting to see more of a decline, especially in the more like the McLarens that we saw, a Lamborghini Huracan. The higher production stuff is definitely softening, but the truly rare collectible cars of the 90s and 2000s are stratospheric.
Like the Countach?
Go ahead.
Like the Countach? That's one of those, right?
Yeah. So Countaches in the last 5 years have probably 3x'd, and in the last 10 years have 10x'd. So you're talking about, buying one at any point along the curve has been a great outcome. And just the number of cars transacting at high numbers between the online marketplaces like Bring a Trailer and Cars and Bids, and obviously the in-person auctions like RM Sotheby's, Gooding, all these, it's crazy. So yeah, in Kissimmee a few weeks ago, there was a massive Ferrari collection sold, and every single car set a new record for whatever it was, not by 20%, but by like 100%.
Oh, wow.
And it has sort of turned the world on its head and introduced potentially some interesting risks to the industry, more so than a benefit. Think of it as like Logan Paul buying Pokemon cards rather than Pokemon enthusiasts buying Pokemon cards. So we're running towards the line where big, significant, rare cars that are already 7 figures become more of an investment class, like art or real estate, for people that are playing with massive asset allocation portfolios, as opposed to the guys like me that want to buy them and drive the wheels off of them.